Governor Greg Abbott has issued disaster declarations for more than 130 counties as a significant winter freeze moves into the state, the one that we have all been monitoring and discussing. Forecasts show temperatures across much of Texas dropping into the low 20s starting today, with some areas potentially falling into the single digits through Monday. Here in the Houston region, temperatures are expected to dip below freezing late Saturday into early Sunday, with overnight lows in the 20s Sunday and Monday nights. To walk us through what to expect, how severe this system could be, and how long the cold may stick around, we're joined now by Matt Moreland, meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service, Houston, Galveston. Matt, welcome back to Hello, Houston.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Great to see you guys again.
Yeah, well, you're the man of the hour, Matt. So what do we got? Walk us through this in day parts. Tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon.
So I'm going to start actually with the cold because as normal, we have a lot of focus on the ice, but I want to talk about the cold. And the models have been, that's the thing that Frank was talking about, the models earlier. They've been really consistent on the cold and actually really trending even colder with each day. And for Houston, we're looking at dropping below freezing initially Saturday night, kind of from northwest to southeast. So the north and west sides of town would, drop below freezing toward midnight, late evening, midnight, and then southeast side of town toward sunrise. And at that point, it will stay below freezing most likely until about midday Monday. So that's about a 36 to 42 hour duration right there.
Matt,
we even have some models keeping it below freezing Monday now. So we're starting to, Monday's actually starting to trend a little colder. Then we're going to see within that a very cold night Sunday night, another very cold night Monday night, and possibly Tuesday night as well. Both Sunday night and Monday night for Houston, we're looking at lows of 18 to 24. And I can... if you want, I'll move over to the ice thread as well.
Yeah, I want to explore a little bit on the temperatures to make people understand that 24 or below for 2 hours or more is considered a hard freeze. That is considered pipe bursting freezes there, especially if you get to 20. 20 is a magic number for busting a pipe. So I want people to understand that, to get their pipes in good shape. We were even saying yesterday a good Pampers or a Huggies makes a good pipe wrap. So that I think is important to note. And then making sure that you have all of your prescription medicines, because you may not be able to get out in any of this as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So there were models taking us to 34, 35 Sunday afternoon. Are you discounting those now that we won't get above freezing?
Yeah, I think it's, some spots could get up above freezing an hour or two Sunday, but it's looking less likely at this point.
Okay. Wow. I'll let you move into the preset part of this now.
I'll mention the wind. I forgot to mention the wind chills. Those are really significant. So Sunday night, we're now talking about wind chill values in the single digits. So that's like the feels like temperature. That's how it feels on your skin. That's really rare in Houston. We have not seen that very often. And north of Houston, we're talking about below zero wind chills now.
While you're on that, Matt, I would make a note that that's really for any sentient being. I mean, obviously dogs and horses and cows have more hair than I do, but that's still, they are still affected by wind chill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the pets, you want to keep your pets inside as much as possible through this event. Also want to check in on the elderly and those vulnerable family members as well. Are they okay? Can they come stay with you for the duration of the storm? That type of thing.
While we're still on temperature, I'm just curious. Inner city, in my mind, I have this idea warmth is radiating from all the concrete in the buildings, and so the temperature stays warmer. Is this a fallacy or is there truth here?
It's correct. Say Houston's 18 to 24. The inner city is probably going to be closer to 24. That being said, downtown, you're going to have more wind. I live pretty close to downtown now, so it seems like the wind makes up for it, even if it's a little bit warmer there.
Yeah, it bounces off those buildings.
Yeah.
And does wind chill matter when we're talking about the freezing point? If it's 37 degrees, but a wind chill that brings it to 30 degrees, is that then considered freezing, or does the actual temperature have to be 32?
For the freeze, it's the actual temperature. Wind chill is more like how it's affecting you on your skin, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the precipitation. We're going to be freezing by late Saturday night, and we could be freezing all the way into Tuesday is a possibility. So take us through the precipitation with those temperatures and what that means, not only for Harris County, but I think it's going to be a little different from the Woodlands North. So if you could separate those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with Houston area. So we'll start to see, we expect as the temperatures drop below freezing into Saturday night, Sunday morning, we're going to have kind of a second round of precipitation then. So we do expect late Saturday night through Sunday morning, we're going to get freezing rain in Houston, up to 1/10 of an inch accumulation possible. I think the best chance of that is north and west side. But as you've seen from some of our previous winter storms, all it takes is a very small amount of freezing rain, and you're going to start to ice over the bridges and overpasses. We have a lot of elevated highways in Houston. Same thing. We could see some sleet mixed in as well, especially north and west side during that time. Sleet, freezing rain, it's going to have the same impact on travel. It just creates icy roads. And if, most those icy roads will probably stay iced over all the way into Monday morning. Now, north of Houston is going to be worse. So, Montgomery County, we higher confidence of 1/10 an inch or more of freezing rain. And then up in the piney woods of East Texas, even toward College Station, or north of College Station, we could see up to 1/4 inch or even more. And that's where you start to see the trees and power lines come down. And I think for a lot of East Texas, North Texas, Northern Louisiana, this is going to be a historically bad ice storm up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what it looks like.
And so for us, it seems like it's more ice potential and cold potential. But
that's right.
Yeah, but maybe not as severe, not as far as the limbs and the power lines. We may not have to worry about that.
Yeah, not as much. The weather-related, those coming down, not as much in the Houston area.
You're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with meteorologist-in-charge of the National Weather Service, Houston Galveston area, Matt Moreland, who's giving us the latest weather update. If you have a question or comment, you can give us a call or text 713-440-8870.
When you talk about all that and where we're going to be affected and not affected, keep in mind, as we learned on yesterday's show, just because your immediate area might not be as heavily affected, we are such an interconnected state now with power sources and all of that. In other areas, if things go down or have problems, we can feel the impact here. So just if we have it easier than some areas doesn't mean we're necessarily going to have it easier.
True. Yeah, I think so. Matt, I don't want to get too geeky with you here, but we've had some discussions about the European model versus the American model. I know you're looking at those, and a lot of people don't know about the North American model, the NAM, which is a pretty reliable model for getting it a little tighter and a little more high resolution as far as forecasts. Does the National Weather Service, do they just use what's known as the blend of models, or are you using a particular model?
So we, one thing that we're really doing in the Weather Service is we're shifting toward probabilistic guidance. And it used to be, and Frank, you were talking about earlier, having to forecast without models.
Yeah, that makes me
or we might have had one,
a hero.
It was very
An
hard.
icon, Frank.
That's right.
That's right. You got to be old to remember that.
A relic.
But now that we can bring all this guidance together with the probabilities, rather than we have this abrupt change from forecast to forecast that we used to have. Now we can show the trends, and the trend has been upward, both for cold and ice potential. We do think that, we've been looking at how cold it is in the Midwest. Like it's in we have wind chills in -50s in Minnesota today.
Mm-hmm.
We do think some of the models are too warm with this system.
Wow.
So that that has definitely factored into our decision making. But we're really taking all the guidance into account.
Just a guess here, Matt, but did this cold air originate in Siberia, as it often does?
I think so, yeah. In Alaska, it sat, parts of Alaska were below zero for like 6 weeks straight. So while we were having a pleasant 80-degree Christmas here in Houston, Alaska was in the deep freeze for several weeks, and now that cold air is all dislodged to the
from
southeast.
Russia with love, as they say.
Matt, we
That's
had
right,
you
yeah.
on Hello Houston when you first took up this position. Now here we are. We saw something very similar. We're not exactly sure if it weather-wise similar, but we've had a winter storm last year where Houston had snow. One, I would like to know how you started preparing for this in this new position and what that conversation for you looked like, that experience. And then two, if this is now going to be something that should be on every Houstonian, every kind of our area where we know we're going to get a winter storm once a year.
Yeah, so we started ramping up, really it was on Monday. We were all messaging, Monday was a holiday. So we had, I think we had 2 or 3 Mets here that day. And we started messaging each other like, this is starting to look bad. And Tuesday is when we first started putting messaging out to the public and our core partners. And what we're doing on the inside is we staff up. So we set up we have extra staffing here all the way through Monday set up now. And we actually started purchasing emergency supplies, and we're, obviously this side of town, maybe going to be less severe icing, but still, there's going to be some icy bridges and overpasses down here. We're down in League City, by the way. Mm-hmm. We started purchasing emergency supplies. So we already had cots, but we purchased more bottled water, all that stuff. And that prepares us not only for this event, but for the upcoming hurricane season as well. The good thing is, as a team, we ran through training this past winter, and Frank mentioned this earlier. It's really challenging in Houston. Actually, you all brought this up. It's like we just get hit, bam. We don't have time to spin up. We don't have time to prepare. We don't have multiple events to test things out. Mm-hmm. We get our 1 or 2 big events each winter, and that makes it extra challenging. And so, each winter we've got to go through training here as an office to make sure we're ready for the event.
The Weather Channel has long ago started naming winter storms. This one is Winter Storm Fern. The National Weather Service has ignored that nomenclature. Can you give me the reason why the Weather Service doesn't name winter storms? And if it was up to you, should they?
So I don't see us changing that practice. Now, why we don't, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it largely has to do with it's really hard to define a winter storm. It's like a hurricane. You can see it, it's a solid entity on satellite and all that stuff. Winter storm, if northern Michigan gets a little bit of ice in January, is that a winter storm? Well, for them, they probably don't see it that way.
Got it.
Do we get anything down here, we're going to view it as a winter storm. So I think that's part of the reason we don't name them. That being said, that I think the famous 2021 event was named Uri, and I think a lot of people refer to it. I don't think there's any problem with that for these really big, memorable events. That if it makes it more remembered, I don't think there's any problem with the name.
Going back to what we just heard from the mayor, any thoughts, reactions to any of that? Anything you want to add to it?
No, I will say we've been briefing. So we are doing 4:00 p.m. briefings with City of Houston officials. That the mayor was part of that yesterday. So we will be briefing him and his emergency management team each afternoon. Plus, we have a close relationship with Brian Mason, and his whole team there, the head of the emergency management department. So the Office of Emergency Management for City of Houston. A lot of times we are always either briefing them or sometimes even deployed in person there for both major storms like this and also, unplanned weather support for unplanned events, for example, the marathon.
Matt, we'll all come up for air on Wednesday, but the models indicate we may be in for another winter blast next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to ask about that.
I was
sort of cautiously looking at it. We are seeing a signal possibly next Friday or Saturday, another round of cold weather, maybe even a wintry precipitation threat. We're probably not going to start messaging that until we're out of this one.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
So we probably won't start focusing on that till we get everybody through this event. Hopefully, we're still well over a week out, so hopefully we'll see the trend, the models trend away from that.
Yeah. Both you and Frank can probably address this for me, but I'm curious, and I heard this being talked about on the news today and hadn't thought about that this cold that we're getting has to do with a shift in the polar vortex. I never thought about it. I don't understand what that is, how that works, how that affects, and why things now are different than they used to be. I'll let you start off, Matt, and then Frank, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, so I am in no way an expert on this, but there's a theory now out there. I'll call it a theory, some research going into it, that as the planet's warming and the poles are warming even faster, there's a theory that it actually makes the jet stream buckle more easily buckle, and you get these surges of cold air more easily come south, and they get trapped as well. So Frank, I don't know if you want to add to that.
You're absolutely right. I think global warming, especially over the last few years, like Celeste said, we seem to have a winter event every year now. Mm-hmm. And we went 10 years that I could tell you, from 97 to 07, without a winter event. But we're having one every single 2023. We did not fall below freezing. But other than that, we've been seeing freezing weather almost every year for the last 5 to 8 years. And the global warming signal is there with extremely hot summers. So if you put all that together, Matt's right, that warming pole, that and if you've been following the Greenland thing, you may have seen the maps where the ice in Greenland was shrinking.
Right.
It came back a bit the last year, but it was shrinking. So you've got this warm pole, which causes the polar vortex to buckle down to the south, which allows this Arctic air to move all the way to the Gulf Coast.
Right, and that's interesting, right, is that we talk about weather events, but what we're speaking about, what we're expecting this weekend is usually considered an extreme weather event.
Correct.
And that's the big question.
Well, as I've always told you, climate is what you expect, weather is what you get.
Yeah.
And it looks like our climate is changing. Do you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the temperature trends, it's basically upward in Houston. Certainly summers. The last 2023 was our hottest summer on record. And then the last 2 years were our warmest falls on record. And we had something like 16 record highs in November and December. We also had the latest 90 degrees as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the most part, the temperature trend in Houston is upward.
Well, I guess I bring it up just for people to understand that there is science behind why these things are happening, and that as these things shift and change, we're seeing the impacts of these more cold waves coming through us.
Like Celeste said, we're seeing the extremes.
Right.
We've had, I think, Matt, we've probably had more memorable tornado outbreaks over the last 4 years.
Right. But are they extremes, or are they becoming the new normal?
Well,
is this where we're trending?
I don't think we can answer that, Matt. Do you think we can answer that?
Yeah, not with confidence at this point.
or perhaps that the extreme is that Houston, it used to be one of those things that our area would get snow every couple,
decades.
Right now we're seeing it. Last year it happened. Now again, potentially this year we saw obviously what happened in 2021. Yep. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
And the whole state. Which, speaking of which, Matt, so I think I know the answer to this, but advice for people that may be traveling this weekend, either west to San Antonio or Austin or north to Dallas.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm gonna just say not recommended. I mean, this is really Dallas Fort Worth. This is going to be a absolutely historic storm for them. Both cold and ice, and even Waco, Longview, Tyler, and really, you're going to have significant icing down to Austin, San Antonio area. So my recommendation is, if you had plans to travel over there, is to not do it.
Okay. On the other side, let's talk about Galveston. A lot of cruise ships come and go on Sunday out of the port of Galveston. What are your thoughts about the causeway staying open and people able to get in and out of the island?
Yeah, the causeway, there is certainly the potential for icing on the causeway starting Sunday morning, from Sunday morning all the way to Monday morning. The potential is there. So
So if you have a cruise, you got to get on Sunday afternoon. You might want to go Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday during the day, it's still above freezing, Houston Metro. So, yeah.
Matt, I think that may also answer my question. If you're planning on being somewhere hunkering down for this whole event, when is the last point you should be getting where you're going? If you're staying in the area, but you want to get home.
I'll stay for Houston, I would say like late afternoon Saturday.
And then stay in from that point forward.
Well, I'm emceeing a gala Saturday evening.
Well, you can't go,
from
Frank.
6 to 10, and we're going to have it's Crohn's and colitis, and we're going to have it regardless. So just wish us luck.
I was going to say you were going to MC.
No, I'm going to.
Frank's
I'll
doing
be there.
it. Even if no one else is there, Frank's going to be standing
I'll be
up there.
But Matt, we want to thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston. Matt Moreland is the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service, Houston Galveston.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for being a friend of the show,
Thank
Matt.
you so much.